My name is Kingsley Aimafua and I am your host. Welcome to episode 5 of The Source, a deep dive into James Michener's monumental novel about the land of Israel, the people who built it, and the civilizations buried beneath its soil. The artifact at level E5 is a pair of military objects, an iron spearhead cast near Lake Van, and an Assyrian-style bronze helmet hammered in Shushan. These weapons were deposited at Makor in 605 BCE, the year the Babylonian king Nebuchadrezzar established Babylon as the supreme power of the ancient Near East. These are the weapons of the end of an era. Between the time of Hupo and this level, Makor has survived 2 devastating Assyrian campaigns. The water tunnel Hupo built allowed the town to outlast the first siege. The second ended with tribute instead of destruction, but a third and final blow is coming. By 605 BCE, Makor is a shadow of its former self. The magnificent defensive wall exists only in fragments. By 605 BCE, Makor is a shadow of its former self. The magnificent defensive wall exists only in fragments. The town has perhaps 2 significant buildings, the home of Jeremoth, the governor, and the home of a young woman named Gomer. Jeremoth is a pragmatic survivor, a man who has kept the town intact through Assyrian pressure by negotiating with every conqueror. He represents the strand of Jewish history that says, survive at any cost, adapt, compromise, keep the olive trees and keep the bloodline. Gomer is something entirely different. She is named after the unfaithful wife of the prophet Hosea, a symbolic name that signals her role. She is a woman marked by the tradition of prophecy, carrying in her voice and her vision something that transcends ordinary human calculation. While Jeremoth tries to save Makor by political accommodation, Gomer speaks a harder truth. There is no accommodation with Babylon. What is coming cannot be managed. And what comes after, if the people remain faithful, will be a restoration beyond anything their diminished present can imagine. This is the pattern of Hebrew prophecy that runs through the entire Old Testament. The prophet does not predict doom to celebrate destruction, but to call the people back to the covenant and promise that it will survive. The prophet does not predict doom to celebrate destruction, but to call the people back to the covenant and promise that it will survive. Gomer's voice echoes the voice of Isaiah, of Jeremiah, of Ezekiel. The captivity is coming, but the captivity is not the end. The source will remain. Nebuchadrezzar's armies do reach Makor. The town is taken, its remaining walls thrown down, its inhabitants led away. The members of the family of who have governed this place for 1500 years, join the long column of Hebrew captives heading northeast to Babylon. They will spend the next 50 years beside the rivers of that great city, where they hung their harps on the willows and wept when they remembered Zion. This Babylonian exile is one of the most formative events in all of Jewish history. It is the crucible in which the Hebrew scriptures as we know them were largely compiled and edited. It transformed a land-based religion into a portable, text-centered faith. When the Jews of Makor are led away, they take nothing with them except their memory, their law, and their stories, and it is precisely those things that will bring them back. Gomer's voice, the title of this chapter, is the promise within the destruction. It is one of the most extraordinary features of Hebrew theology, the capacity to interpret catastrophic defeat not as evidence that God has abandoned the people, but as evidence that He is disciplining them. This is a theology that demands enormous intellectual and psychological courage to look at the smoking ruins of your city and say, even now, God is at work. In 50 years, exactly as Gomer prophesies, Cyrus of Persia will crush Babylon and the Jews of Makor will be encouraged to return home. The source will not be extinguished. It will simply go underground for a season, as water does in the Galilean summer, before rising again. That brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you found that as rich and thought-provoking as I did. Do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. See you in the next episode.